Alright guys, welcome back to another Master and Apprentice video and podcast. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but we had our What Is series, kind of going over the details of what is this ship, what is this object from the Star Wars universe. And we're going to do kind of like a 2-in-1 today, comparing and just giving an overall breakdown of the ARC-170 and the X-Wing. If you're a casual Star Wars fan, they almost look identical, right? They both have these wings that kind of split apart and they shoot from the tips of them, and they're just very similar in general, but they're very different, right? They're inspired from one another in the canon universe. In real life, they're vice versa, right? Obviously, the ARC-170 that's from the prequel era is inspired by the X-Wing, whereas in the canon universe, the X-Wing is inspired by the ARC-170. So all that being said, we're going to just give you kind of the details of each one, kind of going back and forth. I'm going to be talking about the ARC-170, Athens going to be talking about the X-Wing, and then we're just going to give you like the details, kind of like showing the difference between the two of the ships. So with all that being said, we'll get right into it. So first, the ARC-170, the Aggressive Reconnaissance 170, that's its full name. It's manufactured by Incom Corporation and Subpro, or Sublights Production Corporation, for the Galactic Republic and its Grand Navy. A multi-purpose ship measuring from about 12.71 meters in length with a wingspan of 20 meters, equipped with a hyperdrive and two powerful IGP 440A ion turbo engines mounted on each of its two wings.
The X-Wings were also known as the T-Series, like the T-65B, T-65C-A2, and later the T-70. This was also manufactured by Incom Corp as a direct descendant of, you guessed it, the ARC-170. This was originally intended to become the backbone of the Empire's naval fleet. However, political forces drove the Empire to pick the Siener fleet system's much more affordable TIE fighters as the front of the Empire's naval fleet. A little bit later, around 5 BBY, the Rebel Alliance would start to incorporate them in their fleet, but they wouldn't be fully incorporated until the Galactic Civil War would fully kick off in 1 BBY at the Battle of Scarif.
The ARC-170's deflector shields disperse heat generated by air resistance and enable it to reach hypersonic speeds, maxing out about 1,050 kilometers per hour.
A starship that was created to be effective in battlefields, in atmosphere or not, was 12.5 meters long and had a wingspan of 11 meters. So while it's not significant, it was a little bit smaller than its predecessor, the ARC-170.
The ARC-170's main armament included two uncommonly large forward medium laser cannons mounted on the underside of each of the outer wings, a targeting rangefinder and muzzle that could internally tilt, allowing for very precise shots. So if you ever noticed, it takes like 5 droid tri-fighters to take down one ARC-170, whereas it's the vice versa. ARC-170 can take out like 5. It's because their armaments are a lot more precise. That internal rotating capability really allowed for really good precision.
While its max speed is the exact same as the ARC-170 at 1,050 kilometers an hour, it did have a leg up on any battlefield with its impressive maneuverability capabilities, mainly due to the fact that it was equipped with 4 different 4L4 fuselage thrust engines at the back of its 2 S-foil wings, allowing it to adjust thruster power more effectively on the battlefield.
Also on the ARC-170's armament, as well as 2 mounted twin blaster cannons and a proton torpedo launcher, make it a very formidable fighter and ship-to-ship combat. So this had a lot more armament and just artillery in general compared to pretty much any starship out there in the battlefield.
The X-Wing's main armament consisted of 4 Tame and Bach KX-9 laser cannons placed at the tip of each wing. Also located in the middle underside were 2 Krupp MG7 proton torpedo launchers.
The heavy nose section of the ship for the ARC-170, if you ever noticed it, it kind of like almost droops down. It's relatively big. Also served a purpose, so it wasn't just big for no reason. It had a really impressive sensor kit, including but not limited to passive scanner modules, a gamma ray imaging spectrophotometer, a dedicated energy receptor, along with communication antenna and a jamming device. So those pilots, because there's actually 3 pilots for the ARC-170, they had a lot to work with.
The defense systems for the X-Wing included a Betrick Screamer sensor jammer, scrambled incoming warheads, Tana E-ray electrophoto receptor, K-block and mini sensor, which are located at the back of the craft for detecting sensor sweeps.
The twin S foils for the X-Wing, so when we refer to S foils, that's actually the part where the wings like split apart. That's the whole S foil idea. The smaller outer wings attached to the big wings, is what I was saying, could open up to expose heat sinks and active cooling radiators, which assisted in cooling the ship down, obviously, but also assisted in improving deflector shields for the ship. So it kind of helped spread some of that power generator and the shields overall. So it's a little bit different than for the X-Wing, as Athan will explain here in a second, but they both have that twin S capability. The reason why is different for both, though.
Contrary to the ARC-170, the X-Wing only can use one pilot and an astromech inside of it. It is equipped with a hyperdrive, a Novadlex 04-Z cryogenic power generator with a cryogenic capacitors located in the S foils for additional power. An astromech droid was also used while flying, acting as the navigation system for the craft. So the X-Wing was much more efficient for a single pilot to do a lot more damage. One pilot could function the entire system, where the ARC-170, while it had a lot more technological power in some ways, needed 3 different pilots.
The ARC-170's whole crew is much more different. It actually had 3 pilots that it required and an astromech droid. Obviously, there'd be pilot A, pilot which is kind of pilot the ship, right, to steer it, navigate usually as well. There's a co-pilot, which usually was pretty much just in charge of the forward armament, forward guns, torpedo launchers, and all of that. Then you had a third who was pretty much in charge of the rear gunners and all of that. I mean, they have big cannons on them, right? They're not, like I said, they were uncommonly large. They weren't really like these small little blasters. They had giant cannons and torpedo launchers on the front and the back. So they kind of needed their own special guys if they really wanted to be effective, and that's what they chose. And then they had an astromech droid. The astromech droid is very different than the X-Wing. The X-Wing astromech droid was completely used for navigation. The ARC-170 astromech droid was assistance. It'd be assistance for either the navigation with the pilot, or maybe the gunnery for the co-pilot, or maybe even gunnery for the rear pilot. It had different purposes, but it mostly just served as assistance for whatever was needed at the time.
While I mentioned earlier there were a few different models of the X-Wing, the Rebel Alliance mostly used the T-65B model. In later years, the New Republic would adopt a newer model for the X-Wing, the T-85. However, the Resistance adopted the less advanced model, the T-70, most likely due to the fact that the Resistance used anything they could get their hands on.
The ARC-170 served as the main ship for the Galactic Republic and its navy. It even kind of served the Galactic Empire for a time. It served for about 5 years, from about 22 BBY to 17 BBY. Now, there's obviously plenty of other ships, but when it came to dogfighting and just space battle, the ARC-170 was the king of the field. So that's what the Galactic Republic chose to use for a lot of its battles. So there you guys have it. You can see there's some pretty big differences, but they're very similar. Both of these ships had a lot of battle capabilities. They were the main ships that both the New Republic used, and the Galactic Republic, the Resistance and their Rebellion, and even the Empire used for a time. Because they both had a lot of capabilities. They were different, right? The ARC-170 was more of just brute force. They threw all of the armament and firepower in the world. They had 2 pilots pretty much just designated for firepower and armament, whereas the X-Wing had a lot more capability in maneuvering and navigation, and it used its advantages to maneuver to play the battlefield to its advantage. So these ships were both very capable and similar in some sense, but also very different as well. It's cool to see, like I said, in real life, the X-Wing came first, 1977, and then many years later, the ARC-170 was supposed to kind of be a predecessor, right? It looked very similar, but a little bit different. But in canon, it's vice versa, right? The ARC-170 came before, it's part of the prequel era, and then years later, the X-Wing by NCOM would be the predecessor for the ARC-170. So it's cool to see that in-universe and out-of-universe explanation for the two ships. So there you guys have it. Let us know if we're missing anything. A quick little video just kind of going over the details for the ships. And yeah, with that, we hope you guys like this. Don't forget to hit that follow, download, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.